here we go again. Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. My guest today is Kylie Brahne. Welcome, Kylie.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. Good. Long time no see.
I know, it's been some time.
Yeah, and thanks for your time today. Thanks for agreeing to come on the podcast. It's great to. I don't have too many no's, but now and again people are like, and I don't really know what the reason is, but anyway, it's great when people say yes. So it's nice to, I guess, reconnect and also meet other new people as well. So it's a win-win for me because especially when you're stuck at home or stuck at work or you don't feel like you're getting as much connection out there. It sort of adds to that connection. Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Anyway, it's not about me. I know that you have you've worked in the health and fitness industry, and I know you've sort of transitioned towards the sort of health coaching side of the business as opposed to that one-on-one PT type stuff. But sort of take us back to where it started, because I don't know necessarily where it began for you, because I know you worked at InShape, and that's where I was too. And I don't think we even were there at the same time. But I spoke to Helen the other day, actually, a couple of episodes ago. And it made me think of you. And I thought, Kylie, of course.
Yeah, I watched it. I listened to it.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good,
it was great to hear from you too. I'd love to reconnect with Helen as well.
Yeah.
We have sort of kept in touch over the years, but yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so I suppose my start in the fitness industry was with New Zealand College of Fitness.
Oh, right.
So back in, I don't even know when that was. 15-ish years ago, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it started before that with my own personal interests in health and wellness. So, sports woman of the school, and had to win this and that, and heavily involved in sports and all of that. So it started early on. I was heavily involved in the gym and had loads of PT friends. So then decided to get involved myself, and started off at New Zealand College of Fitness. Absolutely loved it there. Stayed on to work for them.
Yeah.
And then I built my client base while I was working with them.
Right.
From there, I moved into a studio with Bobby Kazemi. Do you know Bobby?
Yeah. He's in Takapuna, isn't he now?
Yeah. So we worked in a studio together and absolutely loved my time there with him. That was great.
Yep.
From there, Lifestyle Fitness, InShape Studio, and a home studio up in Orewa.
Okay. Okay, excellent. And what time did you start to sort of make that transition from sort of traditional PT to the health coaching and some of that lifestyle stuff that is really important, so needed?
Yeah, it is. It started through my own journey. So
right.
I won't get too involved, but otherwise we'll be here for hours.
That's okay.
But it started off with a tornado, which then after that was a separation, and then after that was a brain injury. There was a couple of things that happened which took me in different directions and allowed me to realize how the body works after stress and trauma. And once I realized that my injuries and my stress and trauma was very similar to somebody else who'd experienced something completely different, the way the body was reacting was similar. That I realized that there was a little bit more going on here, and I needed to figure out what. So after the brain and neck injury, I was out surfing in Orewa, and the surfboard went up, came down and hit me on the head. And about 6 to 12 months after that, I started developing all sorts of issues. So digestion issues, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, just really felt unwell as well. And so I started looking into what was going on. And I had post-concussion syndrome.
Post-concussion syndrome. Okay.
Yeah. So I then went on a healing journey. I researched the crap out of everything.
Yeah.
And tried things for myself. because I was so determined to get better. I was not going to let this, dictate how my life would be from here. So, yeah, I was determined, and I saw specialist after specialist after specialist, and no one sort of could put the whole thing together for me. Like they were each very good at what they did in their specific areas. But I never got told I had post-concussion syndrome. I didn't know what was going on. So, so basically I went through this journey to research everything, and turned out that I had leaky gut from the trauma. So the body was working so hard at healing everything else, and then digestive issues then started coming up, and that was basically a result of that. Those birds aren't getting too noisy, are they?
We should probably put a little disclaimer in there that background noise isn't accidental. We decided that we would keep the birds in the room.
So basically took myself through that healing journey. I started meditating. That was new to me. And then I realized the benefits of meditating. I was always a very without really wanting to admit it, a go hard or go home kind of person. It was all very hard and fast. I didn't have time for yoga. I didn't have time for that gentle side of things that brings balance. So this taught me that I need to have the gentle side and I need to have time to connect with myself and, really listen to my body and what's going on. And it really just brought about a really holistic approach to wellness. So through the new way of eating, to new way of exercising, because I couldn't actually train for 7 years.
Wow.
So when I say I couldn't train, it was the neck injury that prevented me from training. Everything I did, no matter if it was a squat or anything, bicep curl.
Wow.
Everything sort of fed back into my neck and created a response that made my neck want to protect itself. So basically I had to take things right back to square one and retrain my body how to move without pain. And build up that strength and let my body know that it wasn't needing to protect itself anymore. So basically I built these patterns up. So part of it also was neural pathway changes. So the body gets so used to doing things a certain way. So that was part of the journey as well. It really took a holistic approach to get myself back to full health. So from that, I decided that I wanted to help other people in this part of life as well. It's not all about exercise and nutrition. There's a lot more to it to create a healthy life. So
totally.
So I like to now help people where they're at and make changes from where they are to where they want to be. So I was determined to then get a ticket of some sort because, I have my experience and I have my personal training background, but who am I to tell you what, advice on other things? So I went through Precure. So I've done my studies through them. Also done the gut health and allergies paper through them as well. So so it's a journey to help people from where they are, meet them where they are, and help them with lifestyle and behavior change. And basically it's how we eat, sleep, move, think, connection, purpose. It all matters.
Massive, isn't it? It's massive. Do you recommend the Precure course? Because I know some people who have done it, and they're becoming more and more common in terms of the people who have been through. They're a great team there. They're very scientific based. It's all very it's great. I enjoyed it, and there's definitely areas now where you can sort of specialize in different areas. So the gut health and allergies paper that I did afterwards, I'm really interested in that, so I took it further into that level. So once you've done the base course, you can then venture out into other avenues and find what it is that
interests you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's good.
Yeah.
And you are looking at things like retreats as well, which
Yeah.
is something new on the horizon by the sounds of things.
Yeah, so another
Cool.
huge passion of mine is just helping people with that stress, reducing stress and finding time, giving themselves permission to give back to themselves. So yeah, retreats is on my list of big things I want to bring in this year. Yeah, so I've got a couple of people that are ready to team up.
Excellent.
We're in planning stages now.
Yeah. So New Zealand based or overseas or a bit of both?
Oh, bit of both. The passion, the direction I'd like to take it is Rarotonga.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Raro's got a special place in my heart, and it was very healing for me when I went over there. So so I'd love to get retreats running there, but also in New Zealand. I think it's important that we have the options to do them local as well, where we can fit them in,
So do you see that being other people involved in the delivery of those retreats? Obviously you've got a wealth of knowledge yourself, but do you see it being multi-dimensional and
absolutely
yoga and nutrition and
absolutely
education?
So the couple of people that I do have sort of ready to go into this area are quite different. So I imagine retreats to be different retreats for different things. So we might have more of a connection, fitness, higher energy retreat where we'd still bring in some yoga, but it's more based around connection. And then we'd also go into other retreats where it's all about self-connection, in the sense that just finding that quiet time, but guided through yoga, meditation, mindfulness, learning different tools to cope with everyday stress, or the change in mindset, change in perspective, that sort of thing too.
That sounds exciting. I love that idea. Way back, I can't remember what episode it was. I chatted to a colleague of mine who is in Bali, Dana. And she's been doing the retreat thing over there for a while. Used to be in Australia, Kiwi originally. And she's got a really interesting story, and we sort of chatted around her business model and how that sort of fits into doing those retreats. I reckon she might be someone that could be good to pick her brains and see if there's stuff in that she does or has come across that might add to what you do, perhaps.
That would be great.
She's a lovely soul. She'd be very generous with that stuff. So you never know. It's good to speak to as many people as possible, isn't it? And sort of pick the best bits of what advice people share and go, right, that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, well, what about other stuff? So obviously retreats is kind of the big thing, and that sounds like a lot of work and planning, but also sort of maintaining that one-on-one relationship with clients. Do you sort of run people through a package or a program, or is it very much about who it is? Like you said, you meet them where they're at, but how do you sort of, what's the process when people come to you?
For retreats or for the one-on-one?
Those one-on-one people.
So the process, I suppose, is finding out more about them and what's their challenges and what have they come to me for, and then it really is about finding out about them and where they're at, and then we'll move through to create sort of ways to be accountable in some senses. Some people need accountability, and so we'd work through different things that they need to work on, and I've got a number of tools that we use for different scenarios, but we usually, when I say we start with it at, like, obviously it comes down, there goes his birthday.
Entertaining.
It comes down to what their biggest challenge is for them right now, and although there might be a number of things we need to work on, for them in that moment, this is the thing that's causing the issue, and so we'll work on that first. And so we will always talk about all the things that need addressing, but we'll do it in a way that's sort of led by them according to what they need. So so it really is about that relationship that you build, and then bringing in the expertise, but allowing them to move through it as they need to, because that's how we create more lasting change. There's no point in me just saying do this, do that, because That doesn't work.
No, exactly. Is there an emphasis on that approach with Precure in terms of that sort of coaching approach?
Yeah. It's very different to PT.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a learning that I've had. So it is. It's definitely definitely something Precure has encouraged within us to allow the client to lead from where they're at. Because it's proven that there is more lasting change when that happens.
They take ownership of it, don't they? Much more ownership of it. And like you say, everyone needs different levels of accountability, so it depends how much they need as to how much you lay on in terms of processes and follow-ups and all those other things, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and getting to know your client is the main the main thing, because some people like things a certain way, other people do not. So
yeah.
Have you found things though?
Have you found the online thing? I presume you've done a fair bit online in the last couple of years with what's been going on, as opposed to sort of sitting opposite someone. Have you found people not want to do that process online as opposed to in person?
Everyone's been quite open to it. Cool. So it hasn't really affected things. I thought that it would have had a less personal sort of, I mean, it is a little bit less personal because you're not, in the room with them, you're not in the same energy, but it's amazing how much you do still connect through a video. Through a screen.
We've just got so used to it, haven't we? It's sort of it's sped so many other processes up by being online that I think it'll be difficult to walk away from it completely, even once things are back to normal. I agree. It's actually helped some clients because I mean, some are in that stress burnt out phase because they're so busy. And so to find time for themselves is actually quite an ask, so letting them have the option to just dial in rather than have the travel time has actually allowed some people to it's been a bit easier for some people. And in a sense, from a business perspective, it gives you more ability for a larger reach. If you're wanting to market to overseas clients, very easily done, isn't it? It doesn't have to be restricted to New Zealand alone. Yeah, that's right. And I imagine after so one of the plans for once I get retreats running is to then have a follow-up service afterwards. And so for some people they are from other parts of the country or around the world, it allows us to be able to have that follow-up service of coaching without the need to be in person. So and that's a great way of funneling people into a package of some kind so that they get that support. It's easy to throw those things into place when you're at a retreat because there's no other distractions, but then integrating it back into real life can be the challenge, right? With all the best will in the world, sometimes you just need a handheld so that you stay on track. At one point there, I thought that I just needed to holiday all the time. Well, that's probably what you realize. No, I have to integrate this into everyday life. Well, that's probably what your brain was saying, wasn't it? It's like, no. That must have been quite challenging because I had a client who had a neck issue, and it meant that she couldn't do the thing that she loved, which was running, because of the impact. And you could see the angst. She was trying to look for a solution. We found one with getting into the pool and doing the aqua jogging, which it's not that bad. It's not the same, but at the same time, there's connection with other people up and down the lane, and it was a good filler for the time until things started improving and the neck came right. But that doesn't even compare to what you just described in terms of 7 years of not really doing something that you do in the training, but something that you obviously enjoy and love. How did you get your head around it? Because obviously mindset's a big one with the coaching. How did you deal with that? Well, so there are a lot of challenges along the way. I imagine. I suppose it allowed me to find me. Because I like that. Everything that I did was physical, except for raising my children. Everything that I was doing for me in the sense of what I enjoy, my hobbies, everything was physical. So from sports, touch rugby, boxing, running, like it was, gym training, everything that I did. And so it made me
have to look inward and find other things that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And in terms of the training side of things, I learned that I was a boom and bust person. I didn't know that. So I really had to take the advice of the physios and the others in the pain clinic that I was working with, and take things really, really slowly. Like, we went back into the gym. Within that 7 years, I was still back in the gym trying. It's just that it would always result in headaches.
Yeah.
So, taking it back to a 7-kilo single leg press was like, well, I weigh so much more than that when I step. Like, it didn't make sense in my mind. But it really was stripping everything right back and retraining my brain and my body to know that it was safe. So it was really hard. I mean, and it wasn't even as bad as what so many other people go through, like it was bad, but it was a journey that I needed to be on to learn these things about the body. So looking back, I'm grateful for the experience in some senses, because it's taught me so much.
A wealth of knowledge in terms of what the body, how the body communicates to us when it's not in a place that it wants to be.
That's going to take me somewhere else. One of the big things towards the end of that was emotions. So I realized that I was holding on to certain emotions, and emotions were somewhat trapped in my body in a sense. Right. And so once I started releasing certain things and releasing beliefs that no longer serve me and that sort of thing too, that was sort of the final thing that allowed me to sort of get over that hurdle and then release the excess pain that was there. So it was gradually improving over that time. Things were always getting better, but say I'd go from attempting a very short run, like a couple of minutes, or a workout of some sort, I'd have headaches within 3 hours, and they could stay for a week. And then, or maybe even longer to begin with, but as time went on, that time period gradually decreased. And so then, after years later, it would be, I might get a headache for that afternoon, but by the next day I'd usually be okay. So sometimes I pushed through just because mentally I needed to have that session, or whatever. But the headaches would still come, and they were still carrying on. Like a year or two later, it was like I was still in that same space. And so then I went to do some work with neural programming and releasing limiting beliefs and emotions, and I was absolutely gobsmacked how much that had impacted, like, and how it was still causing the pain in my body. Like, once I dealt with it, it immediately went. Wow, so that's phenomenal. It is, it really is. So I like to do that kind of work with clients now as well. So when you've got issues that are a little bit deeper, we sort of work through those as well.
That can be a tricky one, because people are quite fairly happy to kind of go, they're not eating well, not sleeping well, probably not doing enough exercise, not blah blah blah. But then when you get to the emotional stuff, which it's a whole nother layer, isn't it, in terms of digging in, and like you said earlier, you've really got to know your clients, and I think you wouldn't go there first, would you? You'd build that connection and then get to that emotional stuff later, maybe.
It's all about trust. So I think you can engage with certain clients that can happen much faster, other clients that will take longer. So it's just about building that trust, and then also, I suppose, how open-minded they are with going to that level. But it is about gauging the client and where they're at, and I guess, and what they're asking from you. If they're asking for something which involves releasing an emotion of some sort or an issue that they've got, then you kind of need to go there.
So it all comes back to that listening, doesn't it, and what they're communicating with and without their words. Absolutely. And I suppose that must just be an experience thing, right? If you've done the PT thing, you get to read people all the time, every day, and then it's kind of just like another layer deeper in terms of reading people and understanding what they need. And sometimes they don't always know what they need themselves. It's a real art and science. So it comes down to asking the right questions too, and really being able to go a little deeper on on some topics. But hey, that must be so satisfying is probably the wrong word, but gratifying, that's still the wrong word, in terms of being able to see that change, because that emotional release must in itself must make quite a significant, like you talked about the pain just stopping. So, and that's just one example, but the speed in which something can change could be quite significant compared to things like diet and exercise and sleep, which are generally sort of slow over time.
Yeah. There's also, I suppose, sometimes the reason that, we're eating a certain way, or we're not training how we want to be, or whatever, often comes down to the emotional load as well, and the mindset and the mental stuff. So, so it really is something we need to take as a holistic approach to true health and well-being. Yeah.
So do you use yourself as the example, when you're having those conversations? Do you say, oh, and this is what happened with me, and I was holding on to this, that, and the other, and my headaches went away? Is that a common thing? Are you able to
sometimes. Sometimes. It all depends on the situation and what's going on for them. And, I think through personal training as well, we've learned that by sharing some things that are a little bit more vulnerable to us, makes us feel a bit more vulnerable, it allows them to open up a little bit more. So I think we've always sort of done that as PTs anyway, to build that trust and relationship. So I don't really see it as being any different to that. It's just taking a little bit further, I suppose, and using different tools and communication sometimes.
I think it's important to do that, isn't it? Because they can sometimes see us as superhuman and quite intimidating, and then you show that vulnerability, and then suddenly they go, oh, okay, same challenges I've got, and then they'll open up quite quickly. Oh, you're just a human being like everybody else. You're not RoboCop.
That's right.
Cool. So what sort of tips can you drop in for us and the listeners, in terms of, I mean, you've dropped loads already with your journey. You've been very open and shared a lot already, but sort of tips that people listening might pick up on that could be useful for their businesses, and I guess some of that PT, but maybe some of that the work you're doing now.
Well, there is one thing that stands out for me, and I remember hearing other personal trainers talking about competing. So, worrying about other PTs poaching their clients and, that sort of thing. And I never experienced that. Throughout personal training. And I believe that we don't ever need to worry about, another personal trainer in our space, sort of thing, because everyone's drawn to different people. So the right clients for you will be drawn to you. If you're the one that's able to help that person, they will find you. So I don't think it's ever anything that we need to worry about. I've just heard so many conversations around it, and I don't think it's something we ever need to worry about in our industry, or even as a health coach. Lots of people are getting into health coaching now, but it's not a competition. We're in this industry to help people, and we need to realize that the right people will come to us. And there's never a competition.
Absolutely. No, you couldn't be more right. And I think with the right mindset, that getting rid of that competition mindset and thinking about, if the pie gets bigger, even if we've got the same portion of it, we all grow together.
That's right.
And it seems to be, as you say, the health coaching space is growing, and it's because there's a need for it. There's a gap between medical professionals, who we all need at some point or other, and let's use PTs and physios as the example. That there's something missing in between, because doctors aren't trained to help in that space. And it's a growing field, but then everybody needs exercise professionals as well, because our statistics aren't going the right way at the moment still. So I think the combination of the two will make a difference over time, but I think it's a slow journey.
I agree.
Any others? That was a goodie. Any other tips or things you learned?
I suppose just this may be a little deep. Trusting yourself with where your next step is, or where your direction is going. So I suppose where I'm coming from with that is a lot of people didn't know what a health coach was when I was starting to train to be one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I knew in my gut that was the thing I needed to do, because it covered all the areas that I needed to cover to then be able to help others from my own experience, and now, as the coach.
Yeah.
And even now, like, people are only just starting to grasp sort of what a health coach actually does. I've also moved into Reiki as well, so the energy healing side of things.
Okay.
Yeah, so I like the whole package of the Reiki, the health coaching, the personal trainer, and the retreats.
Yeah.
It all sort of just builds that little,
Yeah.
But that's where my journey's taken me. And if you're a personal trainer that sort of wants to step outside of the personal training, or bring in other aspects, just to follow what feels right for you, not necessarily what others around you or the market says or whatever. It's about following what feels right for you, and it'll take you places.
That's awesome. Yeah. I like it. I don't think I should ask anymore, because that's a really that's a great, that was such a good one to end on, is what I was going to say. Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you. And so I will at that point. So thank you again for your time, Kylie. It's been really good chatting, and some really interesting stuff, and well done you for what you've done in terms of your journey. It's mind-blowing. I'm quite blown away with how you've dealt with the things that were thrown at you, and how you've actually kind of turned it into a positive and used it for good, like a superhero.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's
Cool.
nice.
All right. And likewise, I'll get some details off you for the notes, so that I can put people in touch who are maybe interested in talking to you or finding out more in the notes, and then they can contact you. And I'll also get in touch with Dana and try and get you guys chatting, so that you can pick her brains.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Hey, no problem. Thank you. Cheers.
See ya.
Bye.